calls to order legislative session. Agenda item number 17, comments and input from attending citizens. Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, Mr. President, we have 4 this evening.
Okay.
Veronica Castley, followed by Fawn Palmer.
Good evening, Ms. Castley.
Good evening, Councilman. I'm Veronica Castley. First, I would like to thank Councilman Johnson for anything he had to do with the stop work order that was issued on December 6th to halt future action in the Abingdon Forest. As you may know, many of the required permits to proceed with this project have not been approved. I would like to give you, as a former 20-year Harford County public school teacher, I would like to give you a short historical geography lesson. The Chesapeake Bay starts in Harford County, Maryland, at the end of the Susquehanna River in Havre de Grace. The Bush River watershed, which is just a few miles south, was ranked until recently among the highest water quality in the region. A favorite crabbing spot for many Harford County natives, my mother tells stories of how she and her brothers could walk into the river from the shores of Perryman and pick up as many crabs as they wanted. Sadly, Perryman has been all but converted to warehouses. The Maryland Department of Environment has now listed the Bush River as an impaired water body under the Clean Water Act. In the bush, underwater grasses declined from 141 acres in 2002 to just 48 acres in 2012. Maryland's Bush River restoration target is 356 acres of SAVs. This seems like cause for concern and underscores the need to protect the remaining forests in this watershed. If you are not educated about the role that forests and wetlands play in maintaining water quality, ask your kids or nieces and nephews or grandchildren. The younger generation, they know. And I am here tonight to speak for them, the kids of this county that will be around long after you and I are gone. They deserve better from you. This project, Abingdon Woods, it's not about jobs. It's not about warehouses. There are 20 of them for rent within 10 miles of the Abingdon Forest. I have heard talk about development contributions, but I personally cannot believe that you would sell me out. I still can't give up hope that the green infrastructure plan that this administration spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop was just a hoax to make it look like you cared. I can't believe that you invited all these citizens to attend meetings to develop a plan that you had no intentions of implementing. The Abingdon Forest was zoned for industrial use long before we knew about the critical connection between forests, wetlands, and water quality. Before your county planners designated the Abingdon Woods as a core forest to protect. It is Harford County's natural resources that make it special and unique among counties. People can see parking lots and traffic anywhere. They're not drawn here to sit in traffic and visit warehouses. They come here to eat ice cream, hike on trails, and visit breweries because of our natural resources, which we, the people, and you, our public servants, should strive to preserve. Let Water's Edge and Bell Camp be the standard of responsible and smart economic development in this county. Let us put development where it belongs, on existing infrastructure. Thank you very much for considering these comments. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Castley. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Fawn Palmer of Churchville and Harford County resident, of course. And so I have also worked at Anita Sea Light Estuary as a park naturalist, and have had over 42 years different park ranger, park naturalist, estuarine educator, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, National Park Service jobs. My specialty is botany and also the wetlands and, of course, estuaries, as I said. So I'm coming tonight to 2 points, and I'm looking at my time. Abingdon Woods is swampy. It's downslope from the Bel Air and Harford County's development zone. This water-absorbing, pollution-filtering mature woodlands lies at the bottom of the Winters Run, Ha-Ha Branch watershed just above Anita Sea Light Estuary Center, Light Woods, and nears Otter Point Creek Reserve. That's National Estuarine Research and Reserve. That's a federal designation. And there are 3 here in the state of these NEARS sites. A population of spongy arrowhead, Sagittarius spatulata, is growing in the freshwater tidal mudflats in the Ha-Ha Branch, where it empties into Otter Point Creek. This species is rated S2 in the Maryland list of rare, threatened, and endangered plants of Maryland, also for Harford County. If you just Google Harford County, you'll see that also. And this means it is imperiled state rare, at high risk of extinction. And of course, extinction is forever. Extirpation means locally extinct. For instance, beavers were locally extinct or extirpated in Maryland. But now, of course, we have a lot of beavers. But in any case, due to the restricted range, a few populations or occurrences, steep decline, severe threats, and so typically there are only 6 to 20 populations in the entire state to be S2. How many rare or imperiled species associated with the Harford County coastal plain marshes and upstream swamps, of which Abingdon Business Park threatens to develop, the Abingdon Forest, will be affected? And an environmental impact report needs to be required by this council, by you folks. Do you know? We've had a wetlands report, we've had a forest delineation, but just downstream is this plant. So that's my first point. My second point is that woods can sequester, I'll go right to the point, 40,825,000 pounds of carbon is currently held in that forest. And I would put it to you, Maryland is going to a 50% renewable energy by 2030. That could be a carbon bank for this county. And that's called ecological services. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Aravinda Pillalamari, followed by Tracy Waite.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Aravinda Pillalamari. I live in Bel Air. A week ago, on December 3rd, we remembered the Bhopal disaster, which took place 35 years ago, for which people are still suffering the health effects and which still has not been cleaned up. We noted that environmental justice is a local and global issue. The people of Bhopal would much rather the disaster never had happened than for the world to remember them in this way. Today, December 10th, is International Human Rights Day. And all of us would much rather see that no one suffers a violation of human rights than to have this day to remember them. I am imagining what the future may hold for us here in Harford County. Will we save Abingdon Woods? Or will we lose this struggle and live instead with a day of remembrance? Do you know what a toxic tour is? In communities whose environment has been degraded through deforestation, pollution, leakage, or dumping, activists take people to the sites in hopes that the public can learn from the past and prevent such a disaster from recurring in the future. In one possible scenario of our future here in Harford County, young people concerned about what little environment we see fit to leave them will lead toxic tours through the business park zone with its somber neighborhoods, elevated pollution levels, flood-prone areas resulting from the massive expansion of impervious surfaces compounded by climate chaos and sea level rise. They will point out different neighborhoods, Cokesbury Manor, Philadelphia Station, Woodsdale Meadows, Autumn Run, Woodland. They are thus named, they will explain, because there used to be woods there, where those abandoned warehouses now are. This parking lot used to be near a branch of the Bush River, and this area was named Autumn Run because the river was running here. In this scenario, I imagine that there will be a day every year that we remember the day we lost the 326 acres of wetlands known as Abingdon Woods. We will gather and mourn the loss of wildlife, decline of the yellow perch that used to breed in the Ha-Ha branch of the Bush River, and the myriad species whose names we may never know, the fungal networks that we are only just now beginning to learn how important they are to preserve all life on Earth. Today, I ask you, members of the Harford County Council, to ensure that our children and grandchildren never have to see that day, that we prevent the disaster that would result from clearing and paving over hundreds of acres of wetlands for dubious short-term economic gain for a few when there are alternate sites available and waiting for business. Let us work for the scenario in which we do not need any such day of remembrance, because the woods would stand tall, the river would flow, the fish would breed, the birds would sing, the neighborhoods would thrive, and Harford County would have acted in keeping with the Greenways Plan, the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act, and the interests of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President and Councilmen. I'm Tracy Waite, Bel Air, Maryland, and I'm back again this week. And having heard from my friends, I'm here as well to speak up further about saving Abingdon Woods. And I'm going to just cut to the end of my talk since time is always so limited. And what we're really at this point hoping that you all could do for us is that we would like to ask Councilman Johnson, since this property is in his district, we'd like to ask him if he would write a letter to the property owner of Abingdon Woods, Tom Huber, asking for his permission for the state, the program Open Space, Department of Natural Resources, for the state to go onto the property and to do an appraisal. They are willing to do this. They have to do an appraisal before they can propose a certain amount of money that they would provide in funding with which we could make an offer to the owner to purchase the property and preserve it for the county. It costs the state $15,000 to do an appraisal. They are willing to spend that money. I've asked the owner if he would allow us to have permission to go on the property for an appraisal. He said maybe. And then when I sent him the paperwork, he didn't sign it. He didn't return our calls. He's refused to return any other calls. I've made additional calls to him that have not been returned. And so, Councilman Johnson, what we heard earlier from one of your colleagues is that if you would be willing to send a letter just asking if he would be willing, just a nice question, would you be willing to allow the state to go on to make to do the appraisal, that if you would write that letter and sign it, at least one of your fellow county council members will co-sign that letter. And we would ask all of you to co-sign that letter. And so that's really our request to you. We want the opportunity. We understand that the owner and the developer, they're thinking about the dollars and cents of this. They may not decide to accept an offer, but we'd like the chance to make an offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waite.
Anyway, the whole idea of this Abingdon Woods Business Park is ridiculous.